In the previous episode, we covered the Lebombo bone, Chapter 1 of the book Lunar Mysticism. Today, we move out of the caves and into the society that came after. The Dogon people of West Africa. High along the cliffs of Mali live the Dogon, who are known for their striking cosmological beliefs and as one of the few cultures with a fully documented history of menstrual architecture. At the center of their tradition lies a creation narrative that stretches back centuries before Western contact. Long before modern astronomy, their elders spoke of the Nommo. These were amphibious, star-born teachers who descended from the Sirius system. To the Dogon, the Nommo were the supreme beings who gifted humanity with language, agricultural order, and the secrets of the cosmos. We are still in Chapter 1 of our Lunar Mysticism series, unpacking how African civilizations turned the night sky into everyday science. To read along with this series, the full book is available right now. Check out the link in the pinned comment below. Welcome to BTS Africa Media, where we uncover Africa's hidden knowledge. If you value evidence-based deep dives, hit subscribe. Deep in the night sky sits Sirius, the brightest star in human vision. But right next to it is a white dwarf star so small, dense, and faint that no human eye can see it. Modern science only photographed it in 1970. So how then did an isolated community in West Africa track its existence decades before that without a single telescope? Their knowledge of the star has sparked speculative theories, fierce academic debates, and conflicting interpretations. Tonight, we're dissecting the actual evidence. Settled along these remote cliffs for centuries, the Dogon are legendary for their master wood carvings, complex social structures, and an oral tradition rich in history. What makes them truly remarkable to researchers, however, isn't just how they preserved their culture. It's how they turned their environment into an observatory. Long before modern instruments arrived, their earlier generations mapped seasonal rain patterns, biological cycles, and celestial movements straight into their daily architecture and agricultural life. For decades, the story of the Dogon was trapped between two extreme narratives. On one side, sensationalists spun tales of ancient astronaut visitors. On the other, skeptics dismissed centuries of oral tradition as sheer coincidence or misunderstood folklore. Both sides missed the real story, because when you strip away the sensationalism, what remains is a masterclass in how human civilization turns observation into survival. Today, we're following the actual trail of evidence. First, what early researchers recorded high in the cliffs of Mali, then the truth, how Dogon elders linked stellar cycles, soil moisture, and human biology into a single timekeeping engine. And most critically, why measuring an ancient, living science against modern telescopes completely misses the point. This video also highlights where else across the continent similar logic was built into stone, bone, and daily life. In 1950, a pair of French field anthropologists published groundbreaking research on Dogon cosmology, drawn largely from months of deep conversations with a revered blind Dogon elder. They recorded that the Dogon held sacred ritual knowledge of Sigui Tolo, an invisible companion star to Sirius, described as extraordinary dense, heavy, and completing a loop around the main star every 50 years. To outside observers, this claim was staggering. Modern astrophysics had only confirmed the existence of Sirius B, a super-dense white dwarf in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, and its orbital period is, in fact, approximately 50 years. By the 1970s, this single revelation exploded into pop culture, sparking best-selling books and endless speculation about ancient cosmic visitors. 4 decades later, in 1991, a major scientific journal published a comprehensive restudy that sent shockwaves through the anthropological world. A leading Dutch researcher had spent years in the field living among the Dogon to re-examine the original findings. His conclusions were shocking. He couldn't replicate the initial data. When questioned, local elders either didn't recognize the detailed claims about Sirius B or offered conflicting explanations. Defenders of the original fieldwork pushed back, arguing that late-coming researchers simply hadn't gained access to the community's most sacred, highly restricted layers of cryptic knowledge. The debate remains a classic case study in academic anthropology. The core takeaway is about reliance on single informants, leading questions, and confirmation bias. If we set the serious debate aside, a far more impressive, fully documented system comes into focus. Dogon timekeeping wasn't an abstract astronomical hobby. It was an integrated survival technology linking three domains: sky, soil, and body. The Sigui ceremony is a physical human ritual and social renewal festival celebrated by the Dogon. Their timekeeping system relies heavily on a sexagesimal, base 60 calculation system for tracking long historical eras, generational shifts, and age-set transitions. Sociologically speaking, early 20th century anthropology operated on a simple ranking of how civilized a society looked. Science with paper and instruments sat at the top. Knowledge passed down by oral traditions and ritual was not fully regarded. The Dogon record, alongside many others across the continent, directly disrupts that assumption on two fronts. The documented Sigui cycle is danced into memory. Every 60 years, masked dancers carry the ceremony from village to village as a remembrance of their cultural history and how earlier generations relied on lunar cycles to guide their agricultural work. This knowledge, passed down across generations, was the very thing anthropological models assumed didn't exist in societies without written records. The variance among researchers over the knowledge of the Dogon Sirius B claim is a useful case study of how fieldwork can produce claims that outrun the evidence, not because any single person lied, but because the research relationship ran through one interpreter, one framework, one set of guiding questions. That's a methodological limitation that was identified and later corrected. The Dogon are far from an isolated case. Systematic, empirical observational systems appear across the African continent, supported by physical and historical records. Whether the Dogon received their knowledge of the stars from ancient beings called the Nommo, that remains a mystery yet to be solved. But the fact that it exists in their cultural stories suggests there's some smoke behind the fire. Elsewhere across Africa, in northern Kenya, megalithic pillar sites like Namoratunga reveal how ancient communities mapped the night sky. These pillars were aligned precisely with key star systems and used in traditional Cushitic and Borana timekeeping to track seasons across arid lands. Today, the site stands as a cornerstone of East African archaeoastronomy. The common thread across these examples is the empirical method, which includes continuous, disciplined observation passed down across generations to manage community life, agriculture, and human health. To explore how historical societies structured time, biology, and health into functional institutions, check out the book Lunar Mysticism linked in the pinned comment below. Next episode, we are exploring two empires that built entire governance systems around biological rhythms. First, the Asante Kingdom, then ancient Egypt. Hit subscribe so you don't miss it.